Hello, in this video we're going to discuss where did humankind come from, part 4. Now, as I mentioned in the previous videos, the humankind were extinct, they've been killed off. It was decided 100 billion years later to restart history. A team was sent back in time that recovered all life that had died, including humankind and Satan and his followers, who were put into stasis. It was agreed to follow a plan for history, and this template we followed to the letter. There's 1,111 histories, and all of them follow the same pattern, basically. So, from the first history, some improvements were made for humankind and heavenkind. So in the chassis, the soul and body, the teeth, the canine teeth, was an improvement that was added in the first history. This came about because of the discovery of cooked meat, and in particular, pork. So pork is very, very popular in heaven. It is in fact God's favourite meat. So there are improvements like that on the body and soul, on all species. Planning was made in preparation for the next history, and this is detailed. So it detailed what events were going to occur in heaven and how we're going to deal with Satan. In the end of the first history, it was decided to kill Satan using myself with 2 swords. So I'd kill Satan and his followers with 2 swords, and that would happen at the entrance to God and Mary's house. So at God and Mary's house there's a wall and a gate, and you walk through the gateway, and it goes for 4 kilometers to the left and to the right, and then 4 kilometers to the front of the hall. And in that open area is a flat area with grass. Some unusual things about that open area: one of them is a crater that is sphere-shaped and is 50 meters in diameter by 50 meters deep. Another unusual thing is a crack in the wall, which was done by something quite heavy. We'll discuss those at another time. But the crater that is 50 meters in diameter by 50 meters deep was in fact done on the day that Satan and his followers were killed in that area. So that open area with the wall, it is unclimbable. It is 15 meters high and is brick and has a gate, and so is unclimbable the way in which it's constructed. And so when Satan and his followers tried to overthrow God, they came to that location, walked through that gateway, and as soon as they were through it, the gate was locked, and then they were suddenly confronted by myself with 2 swords, and I just heckled them and then killed them all. So that was something that occurred in the start of the second history, 400 billion years ago. So what happens is, for this restart of history, everything's in stasis, including all the angels, and it is just God, the Holy Spirit, Mary and Jesus, and a small team of angels and all the artificial intelligence of heaven go back in time. Firstly, they're awake and not in stasis. All the dimensions as a stack are moved to another location in relation to the holy dimension. Then the entire stack is moved back in time 4 trillion years. And upon arrival, the entire stack is then moved again, so that it doesn't conflict with our arrival. So there's two movements, and movement through time. Then what happens is God creates a new heaven and a new storage dimension, which we refer to as hell, and a new universe. So heaven is the first that is constructed, created, and then angels are brought in, and inhibitors are placed on everyone to not remember the previous history. So we pretty much start again. But with Satan and his followers, it was known that they would follow the same pattern. It is just in their nature to behave the way they do. So in the start of the second history, angels weren't in caves. Instead, they were in skyscrapers and had apartments. And each batch has 4 skyscrapers, and in between all 4 of them, they're in a square shape, in between all 4 of them is the common room, and they all go in there to eat and drink and hang out. Then with humankind, he runs in stasis. Once planet Earth is created and everything's terraformed, then later in the history, humankind are brought in after Noah's flood. In the case of the second history, there was no flood. So it was a different sequence of events, which we won't go into, but suffice to say, Satan's not there. So if Satan and his followers aren't there, humankind flourish, and it becomes a really, really good history. At the end of the second history, all of humankind were in heaven, and there was a meeting, and we went through and discussed the previous history and the history that we'd just experienced. And then it was mentioned to humankind about the planning for the next history. Eventually, through the histories, it was decided to bring Satan to earth. And it was a vote cast by everyone in heaven and humankind to allow this to happen. It was shown to everyone that there's a good outcome. All of humankind are angry with Satan over what occurred in the first history and in the following histories where Satan has interacted with humankind and caused trouble. In this history, it is like hitting a home run. So in this history, all the chess pieces are in place, and Satan is where we want him. And this is different from all the previous histories and history branches. So in this history, we've got Satan right where we want him, and there's nothing he can do about it. So what happens in this history? There's no more restarts of history. If there were, I wouldn't be talking about this right now. So it is known that this history just goes on forever. Humankind flourish for all eternity, and heaven and the universe are at peace. There's no more wars or crime to speak of. Once a super golden age starts, no one wants to break the law and cause trouble. So Satan will get removed in the near future along with all of his followers, and them in their wicked, stupid culture will die with them. That'll be the end of that sort of nonsense. A lot of wars all over the world, including terrorist activities, are in fact from witches and Wiccans and Satan and his followers. They use spy agencies to achieve this in other people's countries and their own countries, and undermines the security of everyone. So in the near future, Satan and his followers will be captured by heaven, and then they'll be removed from this universe for all eternity. And everyone is going to experience a very, very historical moment, a super golden age for humankind, which has never ever happened in a previous history. I'm the Archangel Daniel, and I'm from heaven.